thanks for the introduction.
Yeah.
As Riel said, I just came back from my internship, and I can tell you the reverse cultural shock is definitely a real thing. So I decided to spend my 4-month local internship in Kigali, in Rwanda. And Kigali is a really great city for a lot of reasons, but I think the best part about it is that it's right at the geographic center of a very small country, which basically meant that I went traveling on every single weekend. And on one of these weekend trips in the northwest of the country, I stumbled over a village called Rubaya. As it turned out, Rubaya was Rwanda's first green village. So for years, I was told during my visit, the village economy that depended mostly on agricultural productivity had suffered from soil erosion due to deforestation. That's a story that is pretty symptomatic for what's happening in the entire country. Natural resources are the core of the Rwandan economy. They don't only provide the basis for farming and fishing, but also for tourism and energy generation. At the same time, these resources are under real pressure. We have a growing population in an already densely populated country, unsustainable economic activity, and of course, climate change. So today, green model villages like Rubaya try to combat these developments by adopting innovative technologies and agricultural systems. Okay, so far that's like your classic sustainable development story. So let me tell you what's special about Rubaya. The initiatives in Rubaya were led by a cooperative that was made up by women, entirely by women. Under their management, the village of Rubaya transitioned into a sustainable economy, agricultural productivity increased, and also the natural resources recovered. But also, surprisingly, the livelihoods of women and girls in the village improved. Where local women and girls had spent hours before carrying water from distant wells or foraging for firewood, they were now suddenly freed up from all this time by having rainwater harvest systems to provide water or biogas plants to provide firewood. And this free time could go into other activities. As a result, enrollment rates in schools went up for women and girls in Rubaya. So I want to kind of pin the story in the background when talking about development and the environment in a broader context here. We understand sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the current generation, while not compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. But what this definition of sustainable development often rests on is this general conception that environmental degradation is a collective human crisis that affects all people equally. But then, if I'm a woman and I live in a household where carrying firewood, providing energy for the household is traditionally considered a woman's task, but deforestation in my area makes this task more and more time-consuming, leading to a neglect of my education, then my experience of environmental crisis as a woman is a completely different one than the one of a man. And in the bigger picture, these gender differences and vulnerability don't only manifest themselves in questions of life standards. They become questions, literally, of life or death. Today, women are 14 times more likely to die in environmental hazard situations than men. And gender is one, that's certainly a very crucial variable, but it's not the only one. Individual vulnerability to environmental degradation is shaped by a number of social factors that also intersect with each other. We have race, class, caste, ethnicity, just to mention some of them. And the reason for that is that our individual interaction with the environment is determined by these social factors because they shape division of labor, access to resources, but also access to political representation in institutions that form environmental policy. So what that means in turn is that approaches that are blind to the effects of these social factors are not only likely to fail in mitigating social crises, environmental crises, they are also bound to perpetuate existing social inequalities. Let's illustrate this again with the firewood example. If by a top-down policy we decide to declare the forest around the village a nature protection zone and bar all community members from entering them without providing alternatives for energy generation, then this approach is A, likely not to be too effective unless we use severe punishments for deterrence, and B, likely to increase women's vulnerability because they either have to bear these punishments or have longer ways to collect firewood. On the other hand, including traditionally marginalized populations in conservational policy, like in the case of Rubaya, can be a way to make sure that we find alternatives that suit everyone. So this is what I want to leave you with. If we want to promote sustainable development that doesn't only benefit some parts of the population, but also, or better, especially those most vulnerable, then we have to engage with solutions that are sensitive to the diversity of experience that happen directly at the intersection of social structures and the environment. And only if development theory and practice understand that we have to move away from top-down blueprint frameworks and critically engage with the interplay of these social and environmental factors, only then will we manage to promote environmentally sustainable development that actually meets the needs of the current and the future generations.